Philadelphia Phillies are 2008 World Champions of Baseball.
The Philadelphia Eagles are Super Bowl champions. Eagles fans everywhere, this is for you.
Now entering the game for Philly Pressbox Radio, Bill Furman and Jim Chet.We'll.
It's Wednesday, June the 12th, 2024. Welcome to the Philly Pressbox Radio Roundtable, brought to you by the Irish Rover Station House in Langhorne, PA, Cavs, Philly Tailgates, and the Edge of Philly Sports Network. I'm Bill Furman. I'll be your host tonight, along with my partner, Jim Chet.We'll. Chet, the Phillies let one of the London games sneak away on Sunday, but bounced back with a nice win in Boston last night. Is it Schwarbaum time? It's June. They did suffer another injury that's big. Speaking of big, you went to see the Stones last night at Citizens Bank Park. I'm sure we'll hear about that. It's also big today in my world, 42nd wedding anniversary, and I'm spending it with you. A lot of big going on, plenty to talk about.
Yeah, happy anniversary to you and Mary, Bill. I will bring that up again later in the show, I promise you. Lots to talk about regarding the Phillies, you know that. We will touch on the Eagles and Sixers, too, at least briefly. And I'm hearing there's going to be a random Chet in the second half of our show. Not about the Stones, but we will talk about the Stones, too.
Oh, how about that? Well, and we have a great guest that's making a return visit to Philly Pressbox Radio, and play-by-play camp director Neil Hartman. He'll be joining us as well.
It's become something of an annual visit. Neil joining us. We will talk about his play-by-play camps, what's going on at Rowan, and, of course, about the Philly sports scene, too. So he's here. Let's get it going, Bill.
Let's do it. Let's welcome back Neil Hartman to Philly Pressbox Radio. Neil, welcome.
Thank you, guys. You know, when I hear Dan Baker make the announcement to introduce both you guys, Dan Baker is a 1968 graduate of Glassboro State, started a scholarship program in our sports communication media program last year. So Dan Baker is a proud prof. So it's great to hear his voice on your program.
Yeah, he's a friend of the show and an all-around great guy. You know that. Well, let's get it going, Neil, with a little Phillies talk. You know, the Phillies with now a 10-game lead atop the National League East. Who would have thunk that? What has been the biggest surprise for you this season regarding the Phils?
I think the quality of the pitching staff. I think you expected it out of Wheeler and Nola. Ranger Suarez, I don't think anybody could have anticipated he would have the year he's had so far. And Sanchez has been a quality fourth pitcher, beyond quality. So Taijuan Walker obviously hasn't gotten to that point. However, he did pitch well in that game in London. So I would say the starting pitching, and then I think the bullpen, by and large, has been pretty darn good. You've got a number of different arms, left or right, that you can go with if you're Rob Thompson. So I'm going to say that's the biggest surprise for me.
Well, Neil, 10 games up at this point, June 12th, 10 games in the lead. Who would have thought? How do you keep this team motivated so you don't take your foot off the gas?
Well, when you lose players, and they're losing some players here of some significance, I think everybody realizes, all right, we don't have JT for a while. We better pick it up. Stubbs is going to get a lot of playing time. I don't think he's ever gotten this much playing time in his career. So that's a little bit of an unknown. I mean, first of all, that's a really tough position to play. And to now go from maybe once every 10 days to playing, now you're playing every day. Boy, that's going to put a beating on his body. So, that's a factor. And then, let's see when Trey Turner comes back. And, just the injuries in general have been a little bit of a factor, which I think would motivate any player or any team realizing, okay, look, we're missing some of our big guns. We need to play really well at this point. But they have. I mean, and that's the thing. Look at Edmundo Sosa. I mean, look at Sosa. Look at what he has done in replacing primarily of Trey Turner. I mean, he's been unbelievable. So whoever you put out there, I mean, Cody Clemens, he came up. I mean, this Dahl guy, where did he come from? I mean, look, all these guys, you're looking at him, you're like, wait a minute, who is this guy? Where did they come with this guy? So it's a fun team to watch. I love watching. I watch all the time. I mean, I just don't miss it because it's great entertainment.
I almost feel sorry for the Braves with their injuries to a couple of key players. I would get over it, but
I don't.
over the last 25 games, the Braves are 9-16, so they're giving the Phillies a lot of help here in this NL East race. Is the race over? I mean, I don't know if the division even matters anymore, but is the NL East division race over, do you think?
This does remind me of 93. I covered the Phillies a lot in 93 when they pretty much wire to wire, own the division. And at that point, that season, I remember it was just inevitable. All right, we know, you're going to be in the playoffs. Now, the only concern I have is don't do what happened in, what was it, in 09? Was it 09? No, 11, right? 11. Didn't they have the great year in 11 and then got knocked out? So I think you don't want something like that to happen because that would put a massive damper on what has been a remarkable season. It's so much fun to watch. Frankly, you go in every game watching thinking they're not going to lose. So when what happened on Sunday to the Mets in London, like you're like, wait, what? Like when they had that rally in the ninth inning, you think, oh, they're going to win the game. They're going to come back. So that's kind of the mentality. I think right now they're going to be their own worst enemy if they have to keep these arms healthy. That's what I mean. They're getting everyday players, but they're fitting in these substitutes pretty effectively. But if you lose a couple of those arms, that could be a whole different story. So just need to keep those arms healthy. I don't see anybody catching them. Go into the playoffs, hopefully playing really good baseball, and then show everybody what you're capable of doing. They should have been in the World Series last year. Should have been 2 years in a row. Hopefully they'll get back there this year.
Yeah, and they have the footprint or blueprint right in front of them with the Braves last year. They didn't play a meaningful game after the All-Star break and then got to the playoffs and got wiped out. So, it's there. They know it can happen. But with that said, it's overall hitting is down. It's not even hitting season yet. I think this team's got a lot more offense to show.
Well, you guys mentioned it earlier. I mean, Schwarber with 2 home runs last night. It is, what is it, June 12th? June 12th? Yeah, June 12th today. Yep. So it's June 12th. But, maybe Schwarber's just a little behind. Maybe London put him a little behind here. But, he was swinging the bat pretty well. Look, his batting average is about 230 or so, 235, somewhere like that. Everybody wanted him to get a better batting average. He obviously has not hit the home runs as frequently as he has in the past, but look, if he gets going and gets a stretch here of 8-10 home runs, wow. I mean, like you're doing all this damage without him doing that. So there's so many weapons and there's so many reasons to be excited about what the Phillies are doing. But to your point, Bill, is that you got to be careful because look what did happen to the Braves last year. The Dodgers, any great team that's been assembled has a good regular season, and then they flop in the playoffs. Like, boy, that would be so devastating for people in this town.
We're approaching the trade deadline, not imminently, but at the end of July. Do the Phillies need to make any moves, or can they just go status quo with the bullpen and the depth that they have right now?
Oh man, I don't know if you need it. I mean, like, when I pointed out some of the role players, the backup guys that have been coming up and doing a great job when called upon. Look, you always want a big bat that you can bring in as a guy in late innings in a ball game. But I mean, Dahl seems to have pretty good pop. Cody Clemens has pretty good pop. I mean, there's some guys there that have some pretty good pop. So that's always something that you're looking for. The bullpen, I think, is pretty much set again, provided everyone stays healthy. I don't see any difference in the rotation. You're only going to go 4 anyway. So I think they have that pretty much solidified. You got Turnbull who's sitting there who could be a guy that, could be a long reliever or in need. I guess his arm wouldn't be stretched out, I was going to say, to be as a starter. But look, I don't know if they really need to go aggressively after anything that's out there right now.
We had Jody McDonald on last week. Jody Mack basically said, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. So, just leave it alone.
Yeah. And I think, too, a lot to be said for chemistry, Neil. So many of these players back from last year still have that bad taste in their mouth. I don't know if another player piece you can't have it upset the chemistry that they have going on right now. It seems like from the outside looking in, these guys like each other and they're on a mission together.
Oh, there's no doubt about it. Look, I'm a big culture guy, and there's no doubt about it. This team has incredible culture. What they were able to do the last 2 years, you saw it happening. You saw the relationship these players have. There's no doubt that this team is a very close team. They get along well. And to me, a championship caliber team, that's a huge part of it. You have to have the talent and all that. They do. But I think you also have to really enjoy playing together. And those guys seem to really enjoy playing together.
What do you think? World Series this year?
Of course. I mean, it should have been last year. Should have been there. Yep. No reason to believe they shouldn't be there again this year. And, maybe this time they get it done. Maybe they finish the job.
I'm with you. Hey, let's slide over to talk about talent. Let's talk about that Eagles offense that they got going on with the addition of Saquon Barkley into what's already a pretty powerful offense. How do you like what you see? Obviously, only June. You don't win games in the spring. You win them in the fall. What do you think of this Eagles and the improvements they've made?
All right. I personally am not a fan of the Saquon Barkley move.
Wow.
That's just me. And the reason is because he's an immense talent. He's relatively, he's not over the hill or anything like that. He's got plenty, he's got some years left, but I'm just very concerned about him being on the field and playing. I just think if he's on the field, he's going to be a great addition. But I'm very concerned about having him there game in, game out. Now, you could say he's not going to be relied upon the way the Giants relied on him. He's going to have a better offensive line. He has a better quarterback and a better offensive weapon. So it's not going to be all Saquon, get the job done, do it. That might be all true. But I look at it where just his track record. And, there's certain athletes, and I don't know what it is because it's probably unfair, but there's certain athletes that just seem to get hurt all the time. And he appears to me to be one of those guys that just gets banged up a lot. Now, I hope I'm totally wrong, and I hope that he is the guy that everybody expects him to be. But for me personally, I just looked at it and said, man, the investment you're making in that, I would have kept DeAndre Swift. I would have kept him. I would have tried to have kept him because it would have been cheaper. I still think he was a player underutilized with the abilities that he had. Here he had like 100 yards one week and then didn't use them the next week. And I think that was more offensive coordinator than anything. So, hey, we'll see if I'm right or wrong in about 5 months.
Now, Jalen Hurts had a phenomenal 2022 season. MVP runner-up, led the team to the Super Bowl. Tough loss to the Chiefs. Clearly did not have the same kind of year in 2023. Now he's got a new offensive coordinator. There were some rumblings recently that Hurts and the head coach, Nick Sirianni, might not be on the same page with everything. So what do you think of the relationship there? Sirianni as kind of a CEO coach right now. How's all this going to play out?
I think it's a little unfair with Sirianni. I think, the losing streak at the end of the season puts a target on anybody. I think Jalen last year, I don't think he was healthy enough to really evaluate his true ability, and he's never going to tell anybody that. And I don't know whether how seriously he was hurt, but he just appeared to be banged up to me and just not the quality quarterback that we saw the year before. So I do expect a big year out of Jalen Hurts. I think he's a terrific leader and will play that role really well. Now, I'm going to go back and say you got Saquon Barkley. Now, I would have thought Swift could have done the same thing, could have been a really effective back if they used them properly. I think the offensive coordinator, Kellen Moore, coming in, I think that's going to really help. Having the wide receivers that they have, to quality tight end. I think the offensive line, a little suspect. I mean, you lose a Jason Kelce, obviously that's going to be a factor, and guys are going to get beat up. I mean, Lane Johnson probably will get, beat up a little bit this year, and you'll lose a game here or there. But by and large, they've got a pretty good offensive line that they've tried to, rebuild over the course of time. I would expect big things out of the Eagles. I would. I mean, I think defensively, I'm still a little, there's some question marks for sure, but they've also kind of shored that up as well. So I'm encouraged. I think it's going to be a pretty good year.
Well, Neil, I asked Jody Mack the same question last week. When you lose Jason Kelce on the offensive line and Fletcher Cox on the defensive line, how do you make that up in more maybe in the leadership than well, Kelsey was still at the top of the game, but how do you make that up from a leadership standpoint?
Well, Brandon Graham, I guess if Brandon Graham's there, I'm assuming, then I think Jalen Jalen Hurts is a great leader. I do think it's time. I mean, he's not a young, he's pretty much an established player now, and I would expect him to have more of a leadership role. And I think he already had that anyway. So, and to have your quarterback as a leader, as a true leader, is a valuable asset for any club. So I think it's time for some other guys to step up. Yeah, those guys had a long, leadership role, Cox and Graham and Kelsey. So I think it's time for some of the emerging players on this team to step it up and to take the leadership role. And I think they're ready for it. So it's kind of a changing of the guard, and it's time.
It's going to be an interesting season for sure. Hey, Neil, I want to get a few Sixers questions in before we talk about your play-by-play caps. Another disappointing season ending to the Sixers. First-round exit this time around. They only have really two of the main guys under contract right now in Joel Embiid and Tyrese Maxey. What is happening with this franchise, and why do they always seem to, disappoint us every year?
Yeah, why couldn't they be like Dallas, right? Come out of like nowhere and surprise.
Or the Celtics. I mean, the freaking Celtics.
Well, the Celtics. I mean, they put a pretty good team together. I mean, Porzingis it puts them on another level, I think.
Yeah.
But Tatum and Brown have been there, so they've had that nucleus there, and now adding Porzingis, who's if he's healthy, he's obviously been a big factor. But my point is, like, why couldn't they have done what Dallas did? And the truth is, they could have. But they were close. I mean, but they've been close every year. In getting to that. Well, this year they didn't get to the second round. I was going to say try to get to the conference finals.
Yeah.
Man, I don't know. They got to have that third body, and who's that going to be? Look, the good news is they have a lot of room. They can maneuver. They can do a lot of things. I still think it's an attractive place for free agents to come. Joel Embiid and Tyrese Maxey are two very dynamic players. But here's the other thing: that guy right there, Joel Embiid, he's got to stay healthy, just like Tyrese Maxey on the court. But Joel has got to stay healthy and it's got to be on the court at the end of the game. Kelly Oubre right there, by the way, was a good pickup. That's a good pickup. So they've made some pretty decent moves. They just need to find that third key player that can be the difference maker. Tobias Harris was not the guy, and we knew that over time. Now they've got to find a guy that can be a true number three.
Well, I think it's going to be interesting to see how it plays out, because this is one of our ongoing conversations, Neil, and me and Chet are on opposite ends of the spectrum on this. They need to regroup, in my mind, and figure out how to run the offense with the thought that Joel Embiid can't be the only guy. Maybe he scores 22 points instead of 32 points, but they have to, knowing with his history of being injured, like back to Saquon Barkley, you got to be able to plan around them. They lost him. They were done.
Well, that's true. But look, I think Nurse is a great coach. I think they've got a really good professional coach that's going to be able to figure this out. Whether it gets them to the finals or even the conference finals, we'll see. But I do think he is a terrific addition. That's probably one of the coaches they've had here in Philadelphia in a while. Look, Joel, again, you're exactly right, Bill. It goes back to that some players just get hurt. Do we not always expect when the playoffs come around that Joel's going to be hobbling around with some injury and it's going to be a factor in the series? It's happened almost every year. Yep. So I think the year they lost to Toronto, I think Joel was healthy, if I'm not mistaken, during that whole playoff series, which, and Jimmy Butler was there. And that was the year, that was the best team they had, in the Joel era. But right now they have some really, really good pieces. I mean, look at Dallas. They're in the finals. They added a couple of pieces here and there, and now they've gotten to the next level. Can the Sixers do that? The answer is yes, but they've got some work to do.
Hey, speaking of the Sixers, I was listening to WIP today, and they've been doing the Mount Rushmore thing this week just for the hell of it. And they were talking about the Sixers Mount Rushmore, and I just wanted to punch somebody. Listen to some of the conversation there. You've covered the Sixers. You broadcast their games for a while. Who are your four on the Mount Rushmore of Philadelphia 76ers, Neil?
Wow. Well, I guess you got to put Doc and Allen Iverson there. I mean, I'm going to put Barkley there just because he's a good friend and he's a guy that I have a great deal of respect. I mean, is Wilt the Sixer? Is Wilt the Sixer?
That was a big question. Well, the fan voting from the WIP thing was Iverson, Irving, Joel Embiid, and Charles Barkley. No Wilt. Wilt came in number 5.
Yeah, because everyone thinks of Wilt as a warrior, and
Yeah, he did only play 4 seasons with the actual Sixers. He did win a title, won a couple of MVPs, but yeah. So I was surprised though that he only came in 5th.
I mean, by the way, doesn't credit, but Billy Cunningham had one title in '67 and winning a title.
Hal Greer,
but yeah, Greer, great player. I mean, we just lost Chet Walker, just passed. I'm not surprised. Look, those polls. Look, I worked WIP for 5 years and done my share of talk radio. Those polls are, look, it's probably going to be skewed a little, well, maybe I was going to say younger generally. But when I do that history of sport class, I do take a poll from the Philadelphia Inquirer of greatest athletes in Philadelphia. And there's a WIP poll that they did during COVID. They call it the Kings of Broad or something like that, Broad Street. And
the Goats of Broad, I think.
Greatest what was it?
The Goats of Broad Street.
The Goats of Broad. That's it. Yeah, great. Yeah, you're right, Chet. So I think the one poll is skewed older and the one is skewed younger. Mm-hmm. So that's the dynamic of doing those things. But look, Joel could be, if Joel won a championship, you're putting him on that list.
Yeah.
Iverson's always going to be on the list. Doc's always going to be on that list. Barkley could be moved on or off, depending on what he does. Look, I think of Wilt still as a great icon here in Philadelphia as a Philadelphia player. So I would put him clearly on the list because to me, he's the probably greatest athlete here in the city of Philadelphia ever. So, and I, by the way, when I do these camps, we always talk about, greatest basketball player ever. And everyone goes, Michael Jordan or LeBron James. And now they get all these, the young kids today bring up all the players that are currently playing. But I always go, look up Wilt Chamberlain. Look what he did. Hey, look what that guy did. He changed the rules. They had to widen the lane. And he did all these things. The guy was an incredible track and field athlete. Try scoring 100 points in a game. Good luck. And not by hitting a gazillion threes, right? So, Wilt deserves to be on that list.
And he wasn't here long enough, but you don't win a championship without Moses Malone.
Yeah.
No, great player. Unfortunately passed too young, but no question they would not have won one. And by the way, here the logo, Jerry West passing away today. I mean, there's another.
Yeah, we'll talk about that later.
You never bring up his name when you talk about all the greats. It was really difficult to do this because players like Jerry West, there's the logo. I mean, look at that, man. That's the logo. It's really difficult to pinpoint players like Oscar Robertson and the accomplishments he had. And you throw out all these names and Kareem and all the points he had, and Wilt and Michael and LeBron now, and you throw Kobe in there a little bit, and all these great players. It's really hard to distinguish from one era to another great players. But I'll tell you, this is it's a great debate. It's great to talk about it, and that's why they do it. Fun. It gets everybody talking about it.
Well, I was talking with some buddies this morning about Jerry West, and, I knew that list was short of guys that are in the Hall of Fame as players and executives. Jerry's going in 2024 as an executive. I didn't know that list was one. He is it. The first one that
Pat Riley's been a heck of obviously as a coach and then as an executive.
Yeah. So player.
Riley, I'm sorry?
He was a so-so player, though, Pat Riley.
Oh, no, wasn't a great player. No, I'm thinking more as a coach and executive. As a player, he's the only one, right?
Yep.
Is that what you said, the only one?
Yep.
Yeah, no one really jumps out at me that was a great player. Oh, Michael Jordan, he was a great owner? And no, I'm kidding.
No, he was not.
So,
you talking about sports camps?
Yeah, tell us about the play-by-play sports camps. You've been doing it for a long time now. I know last time we talked to you, this time, I guess last year pretty much, picking up a lot of momentum. Is it still going strong?
Oh, it's going real strong for sure. We started in 2001. Jeremy Treatman and Stephen Goldstein started the company. I was one of their first speakers in 2001. And then this is my, I think, 7th or 8th summer. I kind of lose track. But I'm a camp director where I go and I do a camp. And next week, I'm the co-camp director with Jeremy Treatman at Villanova. And then I go to Denver for a week. I'm there for a week. You're there for a week. So it's a long period of time. It's a little draining, but it's extremely enjoyable to see the young kids and see their interest in this industry. And then I also go to Seattle, Washington, and Chicago, and Washington, D.C., and we have an advanced camp in Philadelphia, but we're in 14 cities all over the country. It's a really neat opportunity for kids 10 to 18 to, talk sports with their friends and meet new friends. And we try to give them some really some great guests that we have in every market, broadcasters and athletes. It's just a really, really neat time. I'm thrilled to be part of it. Looking forward to it. Next week in Villanova, to give you an example, we have 130 kids that will be there. We're sold out in Philadelphia. That was our cap. Yeah. 130. I think 50 or 60 are staying overnight. God bless those counselors that are staying overnight. in Villanova because I go home. But that's the possibility. Our counselors, they're either juniors in college or just recent graduates. Many of them have been through the program. They get to work with the campers, and it's a really neat thing. So if your son or daughter is interested, we're all over the country. Come join us.
Fantastic. And you run these all summer long, right? Basically, school just got out, so you're going from here till August.
Yeah, so they started in Dallas last week. They're in Florida, South Florida this week in Boca Raton. And then next week we're in Philadelphia, the following week in Denver. Some weeks we run the same time. I believe when I'm in Chicago, we have North Jersey going on. But yes, every week through the summer, we're coast to coast. We're in LA, we're in Boston, Atlanta. We're all over the place. So it's really neat to see the growth of the company and the way we've been able to attract so many campers. More than 1,000 campers were involved all summer at play-by-play sports broadcasting camps. So I'm really glad to be part of it.
One final question I have for you, Neil, along those same lines. You've sent us a couple people that we've had on our show that are up and comers and have become comers. You have any superstars lined up out there at Rowan, ready to hit the big time?
You know what? Look, I was a sportscaster for 35 years. Loved every part of it. But I am so thrilled that I have had an opportunity to be in higher education the last 7 years. I've been at Rowan University now 5 years. Our program, our sports communication media program, is growing leaps and bounds. We have 400 kids in our program now in just 5 years. We are attracting students from all over the place. Frankly, students that I meet at camp are saying, "Whoa, what about Rowan?" And they come. I have a student coming from Ohio. I got 2 from Virginia. I got 1 from Connecticut. I got a number from Pennsylvania. Obviously, we're a state institution in New Jersey, but it is just growing, and it's really cool to see the development of these students. Broadcaster-wise, keep your eyes and ears on Kayla Santiago.
Oh yeah, we know Kayla.
Delmarva Sports Network in Salisbury, Maryland, but she also has done some work here in the Philadelphia market on digital platforms. So she is someone to keep your eye on. A broadcaster is a play-by-play person. His name is Aaron Hook. He's done 4 years of professional basketball with the Delaware Blue Coats, 4 years of professional baseball with Wilmington Blue Rocks. He is the best play-by-play person I've had in the 5 years I've been at Rowan. So those are 2 that pop out right now. But really, these things are coming in from high school with all the experience. And where did this kid come from? I had a kid, his name's Owen Colwell. He came from North Jersey, and we're in auditions for the Wilmington Blue Rocks. And we do these auditions, and we sit down, and you hear this kid do his audition. You go like, where'd he come from? Holy moly, this guy is really good. So we're developing them, But if they don't have any experience, that's our job to train them, get them ready, and of course, be really good students in the process. Neil,
Great seeing you again. Hope we can keep doing this for years to come every June.
Yeah, well, look, I enjoy it. Always talk. I know it's summertime when I hear from Chet. I know it's summertime. Bill, it's great to see you. Congratulations on the wedding anniversary. Have a great time. When you got your big event coming up. What is it? Next week?
Next Sunday.
Week from Sunday, the 23rd.
Week from Sunday. Say hi to JJ, Joe Watson, Lou Nolan. You guys got a great thing going. So thank you for having me. There you go. There's my man, Joe Watson. Comes to Rowan every semester. Love that guy.
He's the best.
He's tremendous. So thank you for having me, and all the best to you guys. All right.
All right. Thanks, Neil. Appreciate you. All right, Chet. Let's give a shout out to all the shows at the Edge of Philly Sports Network this week. The gang, as always, has all the bases covered. You can catch all the action on www.eopsports.com, as well as Edge of Philly Sports on YouTube. You can also find our show on the Philly Pressbox Radio YouTube channel. Help us out. Hit those subscribe, follow, and like buttons. And as always, share with your family and friends. As you can see, Chet, loaded up as usual. Phil Stifel's got that trending in the AM going on every morning, and it's hot. People are watching that on a regular basis, and he's doing real well with that. We appreciate him doing that. Don't forget to subscribe to the Edge of Philly Sports Weekly newsletter. Sign up for free. You'll receive the EOP Weekly Review in your email every Friday morning. And Chet, since we're talking doing fun things, tell us what's going on over at the Irish Rover Station House this week as they get ready for us next week.
I had a hunch you'd be asking about the Irish Rover doing. So here's your answer, Bill.
It's always fun to bring our friend from the Irish Rover Station House onto the show, Christina Gaskill, that would be. Hey, Chris, welcome back.
Thanks for having me.
Chris, it seems like every couple of months the Irish Rover has a real big event going on the calendar, and here comes another one. This one happens every year on Father's Day. Tell our viewers and listeners what we're talking about.
Yeah, so Sunday is our annual Father's Day car show. It's a great day. All of the locals bring out their fancy cars and line them up in the parking lot. We'll have music, drinks, raffles, giveaways, beer, of course. And what's really awesome about this event is that it's a fundraiser for the Bucks County Community Foundation. So all of our profits that day go towards this foundation, which helps local families in need. And we're super happy to be a part of that.
If I remember, you got something like 150 cars or whatever, at least.
Yeah, last year we did just over 200, so it was really exciting. Yeah.
Anything else folks should know about the car show? Looks like it's going to be a nice warm day, by the way.
Yeah, no, it's going to be a great day. We're looking forward to it. It's from 9 to 2. It's free to attend. If you're going to register your car, it's just $20. And again, that money's going right to the community foundation.
Well, Chris, as it turns out, the Irish Rover is the place to be also the following Sunday, the 23rd. Can I tell everybody about that one?
Please, please.
All right, here's the deal. Philly Pressbox Radio, Bill Furman and I have been doing our weekly show for a little over 10 years now. And on the 23rd, we will be doing show number 500 right there at the Irish Rover. And since it was just the 50th anniversary of the Flyers' first Stanley Cup, we're going to be joined by some special guests on that Sunday afternoon. Flyers broadcaster Jim Jackson, PA man extraordinaire Lou Nolan, and two-time Stanley Cup champion Joe Watson, who, by the way, has a terrific new book out called Thundermouth. He'll have some books available to sell at the event. We did our 400th show at the Rover a couple of summers ago, and it was so much fun we knew we had to come back to do number 500 there. Sunday, June 23rd, 1:30 p.m. It's going to be fun, right, Chris?
Oh, I'm so excited. I can't believe it was 2 years ago. It feels like it was a couple months ago.
Yeah, July of 2022. Here we are, number 500. Chris, enjoy this week's warmer weather, and I'll see you this Sunday for the Father's Day car show, and then on the 23rd for our 500th show.
Awesome. Thanks, Chet.
Chet, I can tell you, I'm getting pretty excited about it. It's for me, I have to make a trip up there and do all that. That's all fun. And to do live shows is really fun too. And to mark number 500, I think it's safe to say we're survivors.
Yeah, that is true, Bill. 500 shows and 10 plus years now. So I guess we're doing something right. I talked to Chris, obviously, and she said she's going to have some nice giveaways from some of the beer companies and whoever else. So we'll have to figure out exactly how we're going to give stuff away, what the specific format will be. But again, it's Sunday, June 23rd. Get there before 1:30 because I have a feeling we're going to have a real good crowd for this. There's a lot of Flyers fans in the Langhorne area, including a bunch of my relatives. So we're going to have a good crowd and a fun time, I'm sure.
Yeah, come have lunch, have a beverage or soft drink, whatever, and hang out for the show, meet these guys. A lot of pictures. Joe will be selling his book. You probably get some autographs without going crazy, getting too many. But these guys will be fun, and we're going to have a good time with it.
Yeah, as I said last week, not an autograph event, because if you have one item that you want them to sign, I'm sure they'll do it. But don't bring like a handful of items. Don't do that. But you mentioned the beverages. If you're a fan of beers, they have 24 beers on tap all the time, plus some other, cans and bottles as well. So if you like a particular kind of beer, chances are good they have it.
There you go. Can't wait. I'm excited about it.
Hey, I want to mention something. We didn't get to play our little musical thing, but this guy just celebrated birthday number 76 last week. I'm talking about my pal, my buddy. We've had him on the show a few times. That would be the great Willie Nile.
Hey, everybody. It's Willie Nile here, and you're listening to Chet and Bill on Philly Pressbox Radio. You lucky people.
There you go. Happy birthday, Willie. Hey, Chet, before we leave the Phillies, the All-Star game is still a month away, July 16th in Arlington, Texas. But, hey, just for fun, let's assume we're picking the team today, June the 12th, June 11th, right after last June 11th games. What Phillies are making a team? I got 6, maybe 7. Give me yours. We will discuss.
Haven't thought about it much, but, I mean, the lock would be Bryce Harper as far as a position player. So he's your lock. And then 3 starting pitchers have to be on there. Zach Wheeler, Aaron Nola, and Ranger Suarez. You could certainly make a case for some of the bullpen guys, too. In particular, for me, Matt Strahm. He hasn't given up an earned run in, 25 straight outings or something like that. His record is nothing crazy as far as the wins and losses, but he's a reliever. Matt Strahm, I think, should be on there. So those are my 5, 4 pitchers and Bryce Harper. I think Trey Turner doesn't make it. He gets penalized for being out the last month. JT would have been considered. I don't know if his numbers are good enough, but what do you think, Bill?
Well, I'm with all 3. My borderline one was Nola. But I think he's got to be in. Whether they'll take 3 starters from one staff, I don't know. Jeff Hoffman is in for me.
You think he's in, huh?
Matt
He's
Strahm
great.
is in. Yeah, Matt Strahm is in. The problem is it's going to get too crowded with Phillies out there, and I don't know that they'll do that. But the other guy, even though he's lost 50 points in his batting average,
Alec Bohm.
Alec Bohm is still leading all third basemen in a whole handful of categories. He's dropped off the league lead in some things, but not the third baseman lead. So if it were today, obviously he can't lose another 25 points in the average. But right now I'm going Bohm, Harper, the 3 starting pitchers, and the 2 relievers. I think they all it'll be unjust if any of them 5 pitchers don't get in.
Yeah, I don't think Hoffman makes it, although he certainly deserves to make it. I just don't think they're going to take that many players from the Phillies, and he's going to get screwed in the process. Bohm needs to pick it up a little bit as far as the average, because, I mean, he was great until about a month ago, but as you said, he's lost points off his average.
Still
and
290, though. I mean, as long as he doesn't hit, he's not hitting 260, right?
Right. And he was never a huge home run guy, so you can't penalize him for that. But I would love to see Bohm make it, certainly.
Yeah, still leading the league in doubles. And I think he's second in RBIs now, maybe third. But he's still the leading third baseman in RBIs.
Yeah. Going to be interesting. We got a few weeks to go before we, get to that.
We'll talk more about it. But here we are, June the 12th. And, hey, we're 10 games in front. Let's talk All-Stars, right?
And somebody said the Phillies are up 2-0 tonight with Christopher Sanchez on the mound against that former Philly. What's his name?
Nick Pivetta.
Nick Pavetta, yeah.
Nick Pavetta. Yeah. And I'll tell you, I'm out of town. I'm up here in Georgia
Yes.
at my son's house. So we have our Georgia press box going on the best I could. But I drove by the stadium today, the Brave Stadium. It's only 5 minutes from here. I was going to take a picture of it, send it to you, and say, this is what a losing stadium looks like June 12th when you're 10 games out. But I decided we'll wait till the weekend for that.
Yeah, as we said, 9-16 in their last 25 games, the Braves.
Yep.
Hey, speaking of baseball types, how about that Jason Worth?
Yeah.
His horse winning the Belmont last week. That was quite amazing. And that guy's got some great hair. Give the guy props.
I don't know about dude's hair. I'll go with the girl next to his hair, but I don't know about dude's hair. I can't.
I like the hair and the beard. That's a classy look right there. I like it.
I like the blonde next to him a lot better.
Of course you do.
Hair.
On your anniversary, you're going to be talking about the blonde. Come on.
I'm
Bill.
not going to talk about Jason Worth's hair and beard. I can promise you that. So,
oh my goodness.
but good for Jason. I put out a thing back when his horse was in the Derby and said, hey, a lot of people didn't know it. And they were like, thanks for the great tip. The horse finished 10th or whatever it was, way back in the field. But hey, 17-1 odds on winning this race, and boom.
Well, as you're admiring the blonde in the picture, who's this lady and who's that guy?
Yeah, I don't know who those kids are, but 42 years ago today, we tied the knot, and here we are, three adult sons and 2 granddaughters later, and heck, we've been out and had a little dinner tonight, and hey, it's all good. You do what you got to do, right?
June 12th, 1982, right?
Yes, sir. How about it?
Very nice.
Time really does fly.
Yeah, it sure does.
Hey, I heard in the opening that you had something about a random Chet. What's up with that?
Oh, I think you're right. I heard something about that as well. So you know what? Let's ring the bell and let's do it. It has something to do, Bill, with Father's Day. So here we go.
2 or 3 years ago, I did a goofy little segment about my all-time favorite TV moms. I had a Mother's Day, such as, Marie Barone from Everybody Loves Raymond, Peg Bundy from Married with Children, Edith Bunker, of course, from All in the Family, Samantha from Bewitched, et cetera, et cetera. Well, with Father's Day 2024 fast approaching, I thought I'd take a look back at some of my favorite TV dads from the last 60-plus years. So many to choose from. Among drama series, well, these are 8 that immediately come to mind for me. I should mention these 8 TV dads are listed in no particular order. And in all honesty, I haven't even watched Succession, but from all of the awards the show has won and the clips I've seen, it's obvious that Brian Cox's Logan Roy, the family patriarch, is a great character. I loved the 7 other shows and the characters listed here, even though the 2 at the top of the list, Tony Soprano and Walter White, while good dads, were not exactly great human beings. Oh, well, moving on. Here are 8 more, and what these 8 dads all have in common is they're all animated. I was a big fan of both the Flintstones and the Jetsons as a kid, so yeah, Fred and George had to make my list. If I had to pick favorites, though, it would probably be Peter Griffin of Family Guy, Hank Hill of King of the Hill, or Homer Simpson. You got to have Homer on the list, right? Now, you may find this hard to believe. Okay, maybe not. But I was around in the 1960s when a lot of these terrific sitcoms were what we had to watch on television. Things like, My Three Sons, The Andy Griffith Show, The Dick Van Dyke Show, Leave It to Beaver, The Beverly Hillbillies, all classics. And most of them had some pretty memorable dads. And thanks to channels like MeTV and Catchy Comedy, you can still watch most or all of them pretty much daily. Good list here, I would think. Who didn't love Sheriff Andy Taylor and Jed Clampett? And yeah, I had to put both Herman Munster and Gomez Adams on my list as well. Of course, the absolute longest list of TV dads would be those from sitcoms from the last 50 or so years. A half century of memorable shows and memorable dads, too. The list I'm putting up right here doesn't even mention characters like Danny Tanner of Full House, Carl Winslow of Family Matters, or Uncle Phil from The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, because Believe it or not, I didn't watch any of those shows. I know, shame on me. But look at the many unforgettable dad characters that are listed, including many who were really secondary characters on the show. Frank Costanza of Seinfeld, Martin Crane of Frasier, Mr. C from Happy Days, and yeah, Frank Barone on Everybody Loves Raymond. Most of the others were the lead characters and legendary dads on these sitcoms. Fred Sanford, Cliff Huxtable, and yes, I'm aware of the whole Bill Cosby mess, but I had to put his iconic character on the list. Frank Gallagher of Shameless, and the great Al Bundy of Married with Children fame. Very difficult to try to rank these guys 1 through 10 or whatever, so I'm not even going to try. Some of them were great fictional dads, others maybe not so terrific parents, but they did provide us lots of entertainment. And, oh yeah, happy Father's Day, everybody.
Yeah. There you go. Good stuff.
Father's Day Sunday, Bill. Father's Day this Sunday.
Yeah, yeah. And you know, it's funny, while we were eating, I got a text, and I was thinking of you and your father, Chet. My son Mike texted from the air, flying from Atlanta to Portland. That's why we're here in Atlanta. That there is a 100-year-old World War II vet on their airplane flying from Atlanta to Portland, coming back from Normandy.
Wow.
Made me think of your pop.
Cool as that.
You had that out there just last week about your dad.
I did indeed, yes.
All right, good stuff. Hey, speaking of good stuff, a lot of great events happening in the Philadelphia teams this summer and fall, and concerts and everything else. What's going on with the best tailgaters in Philadelphia? Bob Cavanaugh and the gang of Cavs Philly Tailgates.
Well, Bill, I'm glad you asked. Cavs Philly Tailgates, featuring this guy, Bob Cavanaugh. They've been cooking up a terrific catering business for more than 30 years. You know them for their tailgate parties. Cavs, though, also a 3-time winner of Philly Tailgates, Jack Daniels Great American Tailgate Party Contest, and a past winner of the Philly Daily News Tailgate Award. Cavs does corporate events and parties, you name it. There is a tailgate party coming up on June 22nd before the Phillies Diamondback games at the ballpark. 1 to 4 p.m. is when that tailgate will be on the 22nd. Check the website, phillytailgates.com, for pricing and more information. If you have any questions, you can email them at cavscatering@verizon.net. Cavs Philly Tailgates is the way to go. And Cav, of course, works with Vince at Philly Sports Trips. They got busy summer. They were just in London, of course. Now they're in Boston. They got a Baltimore trip later this week. Then they go to Wrigley. They go to Pittsburgh. They have trips to Miami. There is that Penn State game, and they'll be at all of the Eagles road games this fall. And they're going to Clearwater again next year for Philly spring training. They got it going on. Check out all of those trips and all the details at phillysportstrips.com.
Yeah, they're doing a great job. And Cav always does a great job. Philly Sports Trips getting bigger and bigger, too. And, in London, it was loaded with Philly fans. I ended up on some channel. Maybe it was the only one it was on. I don't know, in Florida. But they were saying 8-1 Phillies fans to Mutts fans out there in London. And a buddy of mine was at the Red Sox Phillies game last night in Boston. He said it was packed with Phillies fans.
That's what I heard. I heard there were more Red Sox fans or more Phillies fans than Red Sox fans, because the Boston fans don't seem to care this year because the team ain't doing that great and there's not a whole lot happening. So good for the Phillies.
Absolutely. The Philly fans travel good. Doesn't matter what sport it is. And hats off to you guys. Hey, Chet, go ahead.
I was going to ask about the Eagles and the whole Jalen Nick thing. Did you research that? And did you see that, Jalen answered that one question, kind of not really throwing Nick under the bus, but just kind of not really expressing much confidence.
I don't think anything of it.
Okay.
I did see it. Jalen's kind of a weird dude anyway in public.
He is. He always sounds kind of bored with the questions and very monotone, but he could have come up with a better answer.
He probably could have, but and I think you have to remember too that his buddy Brian Johnson was the offensive coordinator. They knew each other for years and years. Brian got whacked. Brian didn't do a good job from all indications. That's business. That's life. Jalen's going to have to suck it up if there really is a problem, but I don't really think much of it. I think, it's business as usual.
Okay. Hey, we mentioned while we were talking to Neil that Jerry West left us in the past 24 hours or so. What a great player, the logo. And last week, Chet Walker, the former Sixer, there he is. He was fun to watch on a champion 76ers team from 1966-67, and then played with the Bulls later on. Eventually made it into the Hall of Fame himself. So we're going to have to do like a death segment every week, Bill, and just hopefully you and I will avoid it, of course.
Yeah, right. Unfortunately, a couple great players of our youth for sure. And, I was having a little text message conversation with our pal Kevin McClure just today and about Jerry West. And he says, one thing about Jerry is he wasn't the greatest Laker player of all time because they've had a load of them. But he was the greatest Laker of all time. And I think that's well put, as a player, a coach, a GM, an executive. And Jerry West was Mr. Laker around Wilt, Kareem, and Magic, and Kobe, and Shaq, and LeBron. The whole, tons of them. Jerry West, Elgin Baylor. Jerry West stands on top.
He drafted Magic Johnson. He drafted James Worthy. He acquired Kobe Bryant on draft night, and then got Shaquille O'Neal later on to, help build another championship team. So, yeah, he did it all as a player and as an executive, and that's why he's going to be in the Hall of Fame for both of those. Plus, I guess he was in also for his Olympic career or whatever. So, technically, a
1960 Olympic gold medal as well. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well missed. The basketball world is not as good a place today as it was when Jerry West was here.
Yes, indeed.
All right. Hey, great guest tonight in Neil Hartman, who's coming to Philly Pressbox Radio next week.
Well, Bill, do you know what number show this is for us tonight?
This is 499.
And in a week and a half from now, we're going to do show number 500. So that begs the question, what happens next week? Well,
How about we go 499 and a half?
Exactly. That's what we came up with. What we're going to do next week, we're not going to have a guest. We're just going to have you and I, and it's not going to be a full hour show. We'll probably do a half hour for 499 and a half. We'll talk about the current Philly sports scene, whatever is happening next week. And then we will further promote our Sunday, the 23rd outing at the Irish Rover. We will give you by then all the specifics as far as the timing, how things are going to happen, when you can say hello to Joe Watson and Lou Nolan and Jim Jackson, and have our schedule figured out for when they're going to be on the air with us. We're expecting a good time and a good crowd at the Irish Rover Station House on the 23rd. So next week, we'll tell you all the gory details about that, Bill.
All right. Sounds perfect to me. 499 and a half.
Yeah. What the heck?
There you go. Hey, you like to rib me about being a dinosaur.
Oh, boy.
And here you are at the Stones concert last night, like a kid in the 70s. You realize Mick Jagger is going to be 81 next month? I'm sure you're dying to tell us about it, but my goodness, if you need to, you could go into like support nursing home or something.
Well, the tour is sponsored by AARP, and I'm not kidding about that. That was great marketing on their part, both sides. Yeah, the Stones. And I've said this before, but every time I've seen them since the mid-90s, I figure, well, this has to be their last tour. I said it in 95, in 2002, in 2013, their 50th anniversary, when, Mick was 70. And now here we are 10 years later. Oh, I saw them in 2019. I said, yeah, that's got to be it. And here we are, 2024. I saw them for the 6th time, and they did not disappoint. Look at this guy, Bill. Mick Jagger, 80 years old, still dancing around. Of course, I had to get a picture in front of one of the many photo opportunities. There's Mick and Keith, who will never, ever die. There's the set list. They started with Start Me Up, which they've occasionally done over the years. Just a great list of songs right there. And you can think of all the great ones they didn't even do, like Beast of Burden and so many others from back in the 60s as well. And finishing up as they have this entire tour with Satisfaction. Great 2-hour set. It was pretty awesome. And then I saw a little entrepreneur outside the stadium, and I bought this little $20 tie-dye shirt for myself rather than spending $50 or $60 inside for a t-shirt, because I'm cheap. I admit it. But it was a great night, Bill. And, you talk about Mick being 80 and soon to be 81. I'm going to play this little clip. I think I can get away with this one without YouTube and the powers that be coming after me. This is Mick Jagger, soon to be 81, 30 seconds worth. You don't see many 80-year-old guys do that.
I was going to say, good thing he didn't make you get up there and sprint against him. You'd look bad, pal.
I told our buddy Denny today, I said, Denny, I think Mick Jagger would beat you in a race.
Right.
He said he'd probably beat me too. And yeah, that's a good possibility. Yeah, he continues to amaze.
That's cool. Good.
It was a good night.
I'm sure you had fun at it. And like you said, they just keep on rolling along.
Yeah. Oh, one other thing, totally unrelated to that. I just saw this news story today. I'm a beer guy. Well, as it turns out, the wrestler Hulk Hogan is launching a premium brand of beer called Real American Beer. It's described as an easy drinking light lager with a rich golden hue and a well-balanced taste. Just 4.2% ABV, so, it's crushable. The Hulkster's Real American Beer will be available this summer in beer stores and supermarkets in 17 states, including Florida, Bill. I don't have the full list, but Florida, Colorado, Minnesota, and Missouri are 4 that we know of. So keep an eye out for that beer and bring me some.
I will. Hulk is located in Tampa.
I know.
Tampa, Clearwater area, so he's all set up down there. Yeah. Hey, I did want to ask you one other thing about the set list. You said he played for 2 hours. I was a little surprised when I saw the original set list that I thought it looked a little light, not in great songs, but just in songs. But 19 songs lasted 2 hours.
Yeah, well, keep in mind, Midnight Rambler is about 10 and a half minutes long. Plus, Mick talks to the crowd a little bit. He takes a break in the middle where 10, 11, and 12, you see KR, that's Keith Richards. Now, on past tours, Keith would only get 2 songs. On this one, Keith got 3 songs in a row, which was kind of surprising. So, and Gimme Shelter is like 7.5 minutes. So some of their songs are a little longer. Of course, you can't always get what you want. Song number 9, that's a little longer as well. So yeah, some of them are pretty long, but they did play from 9:30 until about 11:27. So just a couple of minutes shy of 2 hours.
Didn't actually start till 9:30. I'd have been asleep before that. Joe House says they must have taken a nap in between already.
There was a warm-up band, Kaleo. Kaleo played from 8 to 8:45, and the Stones were supposedly going to come on at 9:15, but they came on at 9:30, and like I said, played till almost 11:30. So just under 2 hours, and it was good. Good night.
There you go.
Good night for the Phillies, too.
Yeah, good night. Looks like a 4-0. That's where you want to be. Anything else before we wrap up 499?
I know you're upset about Caitlin Clark being left off the women's Olympic team, which makes no sense, but hey.
They
screwed that up.
They have their opportunity to do something kind of big, I thought, and they chose not to do it. Hey, whatever.
Maybe they'll have a change of heart. Still time.
Well, I don't think so now. I think because it's going to look like they caved in, and 2, because they've all said so many things that she isn't good enough, she shouldn't be there. Now all of a sudden to put her there, she can go get some rest, and she's going to be a good player. And we'll just time will take care of it. While you're putting a 41 or 42-year-old on there that's already been to 6 Olympics. I don't quite get that, and not have any of those rookies on there, even if it wasn't Caitlin Clark. I don't get it. But
I hear you, Bill.
I don't have to
wrap it up. Go continue your anniversary celebration.
We will do it. Let's thank tonight's special guest, Neil Hartman, our sponsors, the Irish Rover Station House, Cavs Philly Tailgates, PPCC 118 Raz Room. For Jim Chet.Chesko, this is Bill Furman. We hope you enjoyed the show, and we'll join Philly Pressbox Radio next Wednesday, June 19th, at 7 p.m. You can see us live on Facebook and on our Philly Pressbox Radio YouTube channel. Listen on Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, and all the others. And don't forget next Sunday to come to the Irish Rover Station House for 500th show live. High hopes, Philadelphia sports fans. Let's go Phillies, and happy Father's Day, pal.
Happy trails to you till we meet again.